Well, I made it. This is the last video, so if this gets uploaded, then I'll prove that I can watch Star Wars be destroyed twice and not completely lose my mind. But yeah, this has been rough, man. Watching Star Wars get destroyed all over again. So we're gonna finish out the end here. I don't know that there's that much I need to talk to in the last half hour of the film. But hey, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen this last half hour of the film in 2 years, or yeah, 2 years has been 2 or 3 years, whatever it's been since the film was made. I don't remember off the top of my head right now. Um, so maybe I'm gonna find a whole bunch of stuff that ruins Star Wars in this part of the film as well. Let's find out. Yeah. Well, we're off to a good start. I ended the last video telling you this is the point at which Finn tells Han that he was the janitor. 11 seconds later, Han is finished with his initial response to Finn. Finn claims that they'll use the Force to figure out everything. And Han says that's not how the Force works. Oh, it works that way for girls, but not for boys, apparently. Because, Daisy Ridley can use the Force to do whatever she needs to do. But Han and Finn and Chewie cannot. Yeah. This movie. Damn, this movie. So the next cut is to the leader of the First Order asking about a report. It just says report. And the response is the weapon will be charged in 15 minutes. This is important. We're going to come back to this in a little bit. So we see Rey open up some sort of panel and crawl into it. How did she know? How did she know what that handle did? How did she know it wouldn't set off some sort of an alarm? Is this, why does she know everything? Why can she do everything? I get it. She was a scavenger of many Empire ships. That doesn't mean this is the same technology. There's no reason to believe that the same thing would exist on this planet. Those were ships. This is a space station. It's actually a planet that's been modified heavily. But yeah, so this is, yeah, it's a stretch to believe that she knows everything. So, jeez, this thing. The next thing we see after Rey crawls into this open panel is, and somehow the panel closes behind her. How, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But we move on to see that Chewie, Finn, and Han have captured Captain Phasma. And Finn is ordering her to lower the shields at gunpoint. And she complies. See, this is why the original Empire didn't enlist women. That's right. I went there. Now this is just ridiculous. If you're a trained soldier, you're the captain of the guard. You're not going to comply with the enemy. You would die before complying with the enemy, before being compliant with the enemy. So, yeah, and why she's sitting at a computer console. Is there no way of alerting anybody? Did they see no other soldiers on the way to the console? Why? How did they get away with this plan as they roam around the Starkiller base with guns drawn and not in uniform? That's just like nobody would see them. Come on, really? Whatever. So they decide to throw Captain Phasma into the garbage compactor, the trash compactor, to harken back to the Episode 4, A New Hope. But this does not make them seem like sympathetic heroes. That's the thing, is even though they're going to blow up the base and everybody's going to die on the base, yeah, it just seems unnecessarily cruel. But I guess they have to do something with her. Whatever. It's Poor writing, I guess it's better than cold-blooded murder, right? So we cut to the rebel base, and they give the green light for Poe and his fighters to attack the Starkiller base. During the attack, Poe says, "Remember, once the sun is gone, the weapon will be ready to fire." No, it won't. This is an impossibility. I'm going to come back to it later on, I think, though. So we then cut to Finn, Han, and Chewie trying to figure out what they're going to do. I don't know. They're trying to find Rey. I mean, that's why Finn said he came to the planet. He wanted to save Rey. How the heck is he going to find Rey on a planet the size of Earth? I don't see any oceans on this planet. She could be anywhere. Plus, it's been excavated nearly to the core, adding a whole hell of a lot more surface area for her to be lost in. No, but along with all of the other implausible coincidences, impossible coincidences we've seen throughout this entire film, oh, they just happened to run across her. Oh, there she is. She's right there. The heck? I was thinking we would never find her. Yeah, because it would be impossible for you to find her. There's no way you could in a reasonable. I think I had 15 minutes to find her and get off the planet, or so they think. Whatever. They don't have very much time because they're going to destroy the planet, right? And she could be anywhere in the actual built facility or anywhere on the surface of the planet. But let's assume she's only in the built part, the part that is human engineered. That's thousands and thousands of miles. You can see just by looking at the size of Starkiller Base. You would never find her. I mean, the odds of you finding her are so. Talk about finding a needle in a haystack, right? But this just goes along with all these implausible and impossible coincidences throughout this whole movie. It's where Jar Jar cannot make a movie that isn't reliant on coincidence. After our three heroes see Rey, we cut to Rey. We are now following Rey as she sneaks through the facility. She comes around a corner, and there are Finn, Han, and Chewie. She was on the other side of a chasm. They somehow knew how to get around to that other part of the base where she was going. I mean, how? You say that Finn was in sanitation, he knows his way around, but how could he know his way around that entire? That base is too huge. It's huge. How are you gonna know your way? You can't know your way around that whole thing. Maybe this is just the part of the base he had to work in, right? It's so stupid. So Kylo Ren kills Han Solo. He changes from the light side of the Force to the dark side of the Force as soon as the sun goes out. Because that's how things work. When things are dark, you become a Sith. When things are light, you're a Jedi. It's ridiculous. Now, this brings me to the point of the sun being absorbed by the planet. No, that's impossible. Let's just assume that in Star Wars there's technology that allows them to condense an entire sun into something that will fit into a planet and then use that energy willy-nilly as they see fit. Because we know that would form a singularity. Even though that sun appears to be smaller than Earth's sun, it still would be condensed too small to keep from forming a black hole. The amount of time required for that sun to be absorbed into the planet would be years. You can't take that much volume and move it from one point to another that quickly. It's impossible, physically impossible. You're moving at the speed of light. I mean, just try to fill up, go buy a jacuzzi and try to fill it up with a garden hose and tell me how many hours it takes. It's going to take like a day. And this is a much bigger transfer of mass. So that can't happen. It literally cannot happen. I mean, seriously, it would take too long. Decades, even. Now, the other problem is that That sun is what's keeping the planet where it is in the galaxy. Yep. The gravity of that sun is what's keeping that planet in place. If you were to reduce the gravity of the sun and increase the gravity of the planet, that planet would eventually go flying off into outer space because it is traveling at a great speed. Let's see how fast Earth travels around the sun. 67,000 miles per hour. Look, it's really fast. So it would be traveling at this speed through space in a straight line away from that sun. Once the gravity of the sun was reduced so much, because the gravity of the sun is based on the mass of the sun. You're taking that mass away and you're putting it into the planet. So the planet mass is increasing. Therefore the gravity of the planet is increasing. Which, okay, let's just assume they have all this sorts of technology to keep that from happening, because you're not going to be strong enough to walk on something the size of the sun with the amount of gravity the sun has. Okay, but they're walking around on the planet like it's no big deal. It's normal. It's normal Earth gravity. And then once that mass of the sun is reduced, the planet's just going to go hurtling through space at the speed it was traveling at that moment when the mass when it broke away from the gravity of the sun, until something stops it, because there's no friction in space. It's going to go on forever. It's going to travel on forever until it runs into something or gets gravity captures it. Some gravity of some other large object captures it. So yeah, the whole charging the weapon by transferring the sun from its position to the planet a little bit at a time, like a stream of plasma. No, that can't happen. Also, the amount of heat that would be added to the planet, that can't happen. This planet is closer to the sun than the other planets we've seen in the solar system. I already detailed how the planets that were shot by Starkiller Base were in the solar system, as was the planet that Maz Kanata's castle was on. They have to be. They're too close. They're all being warmed by the same sun. Yet this planet appears to be the closest one to the sun. Yet it's an ice planet. This whole planet, Starkiller planet and sun association are absolutely 100% incorrect. This logically cannot happen. It logistically is impossible. So he said, this movie ruined Star Wars. There's too many impossibilities. That it's not like we're dealing with impossible magical stuff like the Force and lightsabers and all that stuff. No, we're dealing with stuff that absolutely just breaks down reality. It does not stand up to how things work in the real world at all. I mean, even if there was magic in the real world, it's just like saying that, hey, things that are above me are actually below me. No, that doesn't work that way. No, things are above you. They're above you. There are no married bachelors. By definition, they can't exist. It's like, by definition, Starkiller Base cannot operate the way that it does. By definition, the solar system the Starkiller Base is in cannot operate the way that it does. Completely breaks Star Wars. Having the Empire here completely breaks Star Wars. So, anyway, moving on to the grand finale. Yay! Now, in response to Han Solo being killed, Chewbacca shoots Kylo Ren. We've seen throughout this entire movie that the bowcaster will knock people, when shot, tens of feet away from the blast force. So, there you go. There's all those examples. But I didn't do that to Kylo Ren. No, Kylo Ren is magic. Well, we know he's magic because he's a Force user, but he didn't go flying off the platform that he was, the bridge that he was standing on, that he threw his father off of. See, all these things, they just serve to make Jar Jar's vision of the plot happen, which is just incredibly inconsistent and stupid. So, in following that shooting of Kylo, we see that Chewie starts shooting a bunch of other stormtroopers, and none of them fly backwards. So his bowcaster has suddenly lost that ability. like we would forget. We would forget. You made a big deal out of that. You made a big deal out of that throughout the whole movie, and now suddenly it's different. I mean, when we see Kylo Ren walk after being shot, he barely has a limp. Yet that bowcaster like was wrecking armored stormtroopers. It was wrecking them. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm not wearing any armor. I just got shot. That's okay though. You know, it's a little scratch, no big deal. Pull the muscle, pull the muscle. Yeah, I'll be fine. Give me a few days. So, jeez. Finn decides he's gonna fight Kylo lightsaber to lightsaber. Because that went so well for him last time when he fought the baton guy. He got his butt thoroughly kicked by the guy with the lightsaber fighting baton thing. And Kylo Ren is like, this is his bread and butter. He actually ends up wounding Kylo Ren in the battle. On his arm, he cuts him. Kylo Ren had just previously used a telekinetic push to throw Rey into the trees. Why are you messing around giving this guy the opportunity to use a weapon against you? You'd force choke him, force lightning him, freeze him in his tracks, and then kill him with your lightsaber. Without a second thought. There would be no fight here. This is ridiculous. Again, as long as it serves the plot, as long as it serves to make a fun movie, oh look, it's going to be fun, everybody's going to love this. No, people who think critically are not going to love this. I've come across other people who don't like this. Unfortunately, not enough. I'm trying to point out to you I'm trying to point out to all of you how this is a bad movie. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments, please. This makes absolutely no sense, none of this stuff. So, you gotta be kidding me. So in the battle with Finn, Kylo disarmed Finn and the lightsaber went flying. And then he goes to telekinetically grab it and pull it to himself. But for some reason he can't. Because Rey can. Rey knows enough about the Force that she can use telekinesis to pull a lightsaber to her from 50 feet away. Even though she has zero training in the Force. Absolutely none. And the lightsaber on top of which, here's another impossibility. The lightsaber flies Kylo has to actually duck out of the way of the lightsaber flying past him. Why not just catch it? You don't know how to hold up your hand and grab something? What the hell? This movie. Rey used the Jedi mind trick. Rey used telekinesis. And now she's going to lightsaber duel Kylo Ren. Okay, let's see. Now we cut back to the TIE fighter battle with the X-Wings. The X-Wings that are invading Starkiller Base. And one of the pilots says, "We're overwhelmed." Well, duh. You are attacking the Empire's primary base of operations, which is the size of the planet Earth, apparently. Don't you think maybe they have a couple of TIE fighters there? Maybe like a couple thousand, maybe a couple million TIE fighters there. And you were like a ragtag team of 20 X-Wing. I'm not kidding. You look at how many X-Wing fly into the Starkiller Base. It's like 20. They wouldn't stand a chance. They can't damage this oscillator enough to cause a cataclysm in the planet or in the weapon. They said they were going to disable the weapon, right? That's what they said they were going to do. Let's look at the clip. Yeah, they're unable to damage it enough to disable the weapon, and they would be outnumbered like 1,000,000 to 1. Literally. Why wouldn't there be 1,000,000 TIE fighter, 16 million TIE fighter, 20 million TIE fighter on this planet? Why not? You could do that, and 20 million is not that much when it comes to number of people, right? 20 million is a very small fraction of the number of people living on Earth right now. So stupid. This movie, I can't even, this, Ruined Star Wars. Thank you, Disney. You ruined Star Wars. So we go back to the fight between Rey and Kylo Ren. And the first time I watched the film, I was under the impression that Kylo Ren was going easy on Rey, trying to subdue her. If only there was a way he could do that. If there was some ability that he had that maybe he had been, demonstrated earlier in the movie that would allow him to maybe stop somebody in their tracks or otherwise cause a person to fall unconscious somehow. I can't think of anything that was demonstrated earlier in the movie that shows that he has the ability to stop this fight instantaneously. Now you might be saying that no, Kylo can't use that ability on another Jedi. The the Force fainting or the Force freezing, he can't use those abilities on other Jedi. But Rey isn't a Jedi; she's never been trained as a Jedi, so she shouldn't be able to wield a lightsaber, honestly. However, on top of that, he shouldn't be able to use telekinesis against other Jedi either, and he just used telekinesis to almost kill her. Somehow she flew into a tree at who knows what rate of speed, enough to knock her unconscious, and then she fell 30 feet, and she was uninjured. So, yeah, there's that. But aside from the plausibility of all that, if he can't use this force freezing on a Jedi, why would he be able to use telekinesis on a Jedi? They seem to be rather similar, and it's always been stated throughout canon that you can't use telekinesis on another Jedi. The Jedi can resist your telekinetic push. So, yeah, there's no reason to believe he couldn't use force fainting on her, or whatever, like he did before. So Rey beats Kylo Ren in a lightsaber duel. Yeah. Um, sure, she's tough. She was raised on Jakku, fighting off bandits and scavengers. Sure, she was. Okay. She didn't have to fight that much. I'm sure she would have lost eventually because she is a fairly small female. I mean, Rey is not a large person. She might be kind of tall. I wouldn't put her at more than 5'7". I don't know how tall Daisy Ridley is. There's going to be a lot bigger men that are going to do things to you because they're bigger and stronger and want something you have. And it's just how it's going to work. If you're struggling to survive, sure, she could become tough. She could learn how to fight. Kylo Ren is tough and knows how to fight. Kylo Ren is bigger and stronger than her and is tough and knows how to fight. Kylo Ren has been thoroughly trained with a lightsaber, a weapon which Rey has never used before. Ever. And yet she scores 3 hits on him, plus a kick, plus she outmatches him with physical strength, even though he's taller than her and stronger than her. He just has more muscle mass. That's just how it is. Men are bigger and stronger than women on average, and Adam Driver is definitely bigger and stronger than Daisy Ridley. Yeah. In fact, Rey beat Kylo Ren so badly that the only thing that kept her from killing him was that the planet is falling apart. Why is the planet falling apart? That's not explained. It just decided to fall apart. Whatever. Stupid ass movie. One last amazing coincidence. Why not? Just toss another one on the heap. Chewbacca just somehow magically knew where Finn and Rey were in the forest. As the planet's falling apart, he just appears. Somehow he manages to land the Millennium Falcon even though they're in the middle of the trees and load Finn and Rey on board before the planet completely is destroyed. Yeah, okay. Sure he did, right. This movie. So all of our heroes escape the planet before it completely destroys itself, and then they cut to them landing on the rebel base. Now everybody points out the part of the movie where Chewie walks right by General Leia without acknowledging her after her husband and his closest friend and ally just died. And instead, Leia hugs Rey. Well, I don't really have a big gripe with Chewie walking past Leia. I mean, it is a problem, but Doesn't bother me personally that much. Um, the thing that bothers me, it doesn't make any sense. Why would she hug Ray? Who cares? Who's Ray? Ray's nobody special. Ray is nobody to her, right? She has never even seen Ray. She has never met Ray. She doesn't know who Ray is. Because Ray was captured at Maz Kanata's palace, whatever that thing is, and taken to the Starkiller base. This is the first time they've seen each other, and somehow they know to hug. Yeah. Okay, movie. This is so freaking retarded. What the hell, man? So coincidentally, R2D2 turns on, comes back to life, because he sensed that the galaxy needed Luke Skywalker at that moment. You know, now that the Starkiller base is destroyed, galaxy needs Luke Skywalker back. What the hell? This movie, man, I cannot. Why did R2D2 just suddenly turn on right when everybody got back to the rebel base? Why? 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 This is so pointless. So they send Rey to find Luke Skywalker. You know, because she knows him so well. What the hell? Wouldn't they? I mean, Princess Leia's the one who's looking for him. Wouldn't she be the one to go? Chewbacca went, yeah, but he stayed behind with the ship. So did R2D2. Again, he stayed behind with the ship, and Rey walked over across the island to find him. Rey should not have been on that mission at all. Rey should never have had anything to do with it. It should have been Princess Leia, C-3PO, Chewbacca, R2D2, Lando Calrissian, and maybe a few other people. But Rey, who's she? She's nobody. But nope, we gotta have girl power in there, so send the girl Jedi, even though she's not a Jedi and she'll never be a Jedi. But the movie says that she is, so she is. It's just ridiculous. Somebody told me that this was the best of all the Star Wars movies because it ends on a cliffhanger. I pointed out that The Empire Strikes Back ends on a cliffhanger. But furthermore, if that's your criteria for what makes a movie good, then wow, you have some really bad standards for what makes things good. I had someone tell me that the movie beats of this film are what make it better than The Lost Jedi. Now, most people think The Lost Jedi is the movie that ruined Star Wars, and I think I've thoroughly proved to you that this is the movie that actually ruins Star Wars. And if I haven't, please come at me in the comments. I would love to hear what you have to say. My work stands for itself. But regarding the movie beats, the beats in this movie are terrible. They're all over the place. We don't have a proper passage of time in this film. We don't feel the rise of the character. The character is already at the peak. So there's no, oh, the character overcomes this challenge, and the character overcomes this challenge, and the character has overcome this challenge, and so on and so forth. The characters are already established as being at the top. Furthermore, when I was watching this film originally, I was thoroughly confused because none of it made any sense, as I've pointed out repeatedly. None of it makes any sense. So I didn't have time to go, oh, these beats are happening at an appropriate spot for the characters. No, there's none of that. Yeah, this film, the movie beats don't work, the story beats don't work. It doesn't really have good story beats to begin with. And for you to say that the story beats in The Lost Jedi are better, that's debatable. In fact, I would say that they're not. But the fact of the matter is, the point of my entire series here is that this movie destroyed Star Wars. Disney and Star Wars now suck. And that's not a word I use. They suck, though. Sorry if you don't like that language, but that's just the truth of it. Episode 7 ruined Star Wars. Why is that important? Star Wars changed the way we make films. Star Wars changed our culture. Star Wars has had a huge impact on our culture in general. This episode 7, it took something from us that we had. It said, look, we are the owners of this property now, and we're going to destroy everything in the past. and it did it. It did say, look, nothing matters because we have the First Order, which is just the Empire. It's bigger and badder than the Empire was before. So everything that the main characters did in the previous 6 movies, previous 7 movies that were theatrically released, none of it matters. The rise of the Empire in the prequel trilogy didn't matter, and the fall of the Empire in the original trilogy didn't matter, didn't happen. There's 3 other major issues with this film. One is the coincidences, the massive number of impossible coincidences in this film. It's fine to have one, maybe 2 in a movie because that's storytelling. You're going to have these crazy things happen. So it makes it more interesting and more fun. But this film has so many of them, it's just ridiculous. The other 2 things that happen in this film that destroy Star Wars. Now, the coincidences only destroy the film, really. The things that destroy Star Wars are, well, gee, Rey knows the Force. Rey just knows the Force. Even though she doesn't even know what the Force is, she can use the Force in ways that she doesn't even know exist necessarily. Oh, Kylo Ren used telekinesis on her, therefore she knows how to use telekinesis to pull a lightsaber. Kylo Ren used the Jedi mind trick on her, therefore she knows how to use the Jedi mind trick. No, that's not how it works. That's never been established before. You can't just throw in a Deus Ex Machina and be like, hey, look, that's good storytelling. No, that's not good storytelling. Sometimes you can get away with that, but in this case, you can't. It does not work. We've seen thoroughly throughout the previous 7 movies that Jedi have to train to be able to use their abilities. And like I said, maybe she could have, maybe she could be force sensitive and have a little bit of force power, but it'd be like, I get this weird sensation. It's like I know whenever you're like within 100 feet of me, whether I can see you or not. It's a weird thing. It's like, oh, it's something small. You have something like, oh look. Every once in a while, I notice like when I concentrate really hard, I can just like make this pencil move a little bit. Yeah, little things I could see happening. I'm force sensitive. I can do these little things. But to be able to come in here and just use whatever force power you want to, and now you're probably saying, well, you defend Baby Yoda and he can use telekinesis, blah blah blah. I've never defended Baby Yoda, so don't even start with that. So there. The other thing that destroys Star Wars with this movie, the other way this movie destroys Star Wars is by not having the Galactic Republic. The Galactic Republic consists of 6 planets, apparently. That was what the whole end scenes in Return of the Jedi were about. That Galactic Republic should be there. It should be a thing. But you destroyed it by destroying 5 planets. That doesn't make any sense. Having the Empire be a guerrilla faction, a terrorist organization that wants to stand against the Republic, you could have had a great story out of that. Having Rey be a character that we see grow instead of have everything handed to her, having the ability to do anything that she wants whenever she wants it, and even when she makes a mistake, it works out in her favor. That's not good storytelling. I'm not saying that I'm a great storyteller, but I know what's good and I know what's not. Now you can like The Force Awakens all you want to. I have no problem with that if you like this movie. But it's not a good movie and it does destroy Star Wars. This movie, if it were a standalone science fiction film, had nothing to do with Star Wars, it would be okay. As a Star Wars film, it's bad. And as Episode 7, it's the worst movie ever made. Literally, this is the worst movie ever made. Not because it's the worst movie ever made, even though it's really, really bad, but because it had such a high bar to reach, and it fell so far short of that bar. Such a terrible movie. And thank you for sticking with me through this series. If you've made it this far, it was hard for me to do this. It was hard for me to see Star Wars get destroyed a second time. I had high hopes for Disney. I assumed they would ruin Star Wars, but I had hope. I had hope that they would do a good job, and they can make some good Star Wars movies. I rather like Rogue One and Solo. They're not amazingly good, but they're good movies, good enough, considering what we get for movies. I mean, movies tend to have a lot of plot holes and such. The Mandalorian is pretty good too. Um, so Disney can do Star Wars, but they really dropped a ball on Episode 7 and Episode 8. People complain about Episode 8 more than Episode 7. I don't know why. Episode 8 actually makes sense. It's not a good movie, but it makes sense. This movie doesn't even make sense. I had no idea what's going on. It's like, what the hell is happening here? It's crazy. So again, thanks again for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time.